Hi, everyone, and thank you for staying for the award presentation and Q&A for Twinless. Now that you've seen the film, I think you understand why I think this is one of the absolute best movies of the year. Like I said, I saw this back in January at the world premiere at Sundance, and I honestly knew that it was going to be almost impossible to top, and now that we're in November, it is still one of the top 3 best movies of the year, and so much of that has to do with the absolutely incredible performance from Dylan O'Brien, who we have here tonight. Tonight we're presenting him with Miami Film Festival's Vanguard Award, and honestly there is no one more deserving because his performance in this movie, not just one performance, but 2 performances as Roman and Rocky, is so immensely moving. And the fact that he has these 2 dual roles that are both so well defined and you feel like you know the personality of these 2 twins, it's never a caricature, it's so real and believable and understanding. And he is so emotional in this movie, in this portrait of grief and of finding solace in new relationships. Truly, it's one of the best performances in the year, and he deserves all the awards and more. So on behalf of Miami Film Festival, I'm so proud to present Dylan O'Brien with our Vanguard Award. You can sit right here. And now join me in welcoming Variety co-editor-in-chief, Romain Satuda.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Thank you.
Have a seat. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Are you going to give an acceptance speech?
No. No, it's really cool to be here at the University of Miami. How many of you guys are students here? Oh. And that's the speech. I'll put this right here.
Let's truly hear it for Dylan and his performance in Twinless.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Like Lauren from the festival, I also saw this at Sundance on opening night, and I was blown away by the film. It is a very cleverly constructed movie, so beautifully written. And so I wanted to start by asking about what it was like to get the script and to sort of weigh the stories, the themes, and these 2 characters.
Yeah, I mean, so reading it for the first time, I got to take it in. I hadn't really had it colored in at all for me. I just sort of found it in my email and luckily opened it and went on that ride. So just like you say, it's, I was like, what the fuck is this? It's so cleverly constructed. In the way that James, he truly just has such a amazing knack, I think, for sort of like tapping into, I guess, divisively constructing like a ride and having it always still pertain to the themes, right? And so ultimately for me, I was just so refreshed to read something so strong in that way, like as a screenplay. These days, a lot of the time, honestly, like you get sent things and they're very incomplete or like they don't exist yet at all. Like, especially the bigger things, if it's like a bigger thing that, is coming out or
like a
something
Marvel
like,
movie or a comic
totally,
book movie
yeah,
or a
they'll be like
action movie.
Yeah, it's so backwards. They'll be like, hey, so there's this new, Marvel thing that's happening and they want you to go on tape, but they just wrote random sides and they don't have a script yet and they don't know what it's about, but the release date's next year and you'd have to be locked in for a decade, And so it's really, refreshing when you get such a complete and inspiring and fresh piece of material, which such human themes that, struck me. I don't think I've ever, I'm someone who really likes to laugh, and I'm also somebody who, I think in life, I love to laugh and I love to feel, right? So I've always loved that in films too, and the balancing act that this has with that, to me, was just sensational from the get-go.
You mentioned James. That's James Sweeney, who's the director.
Yes.
He also plays Dennis in the movie. Are you guys aware of that? Did you know that? You all knew that. You're good film aficionados and film students. So what was that like, co-starring with your director? And did you know, reading the script, that he was going to play Dennis, or is that something that evolved?
Yeah, so when I first read it, no, I didn't know that was, or I'd seen that was the plan. but then immediately after reading it, because I loved the script so much, I went and found James's first film, which is a film called Straight Up, for those of you who know. Nice, I see a little applause right there. Nice. Yeah, it's an amazing movie. He made it for like almost no money, and it's really incredible. And he stars in that as well. And so as soon as I watched that movie, you know, I was like, oh, that's Dennis, you know. And it's funny, he actually told me so many years later that he was so shocked that I was so okay with him playing Dennis. He thought that I would, you know, come on board and be like, yeah, but I'm not going to act with you, you know, if I'm going to do this, which was not the case at all. And I think he's wonderful. Yeah, acting with your director is really funny because, I mean, first of all, it's like you just call cut and you're just sitting with each other. And then usually there's like a process of like the director like coming in and being like, hey, what's up, you know? And so, okay, yeah, that one felt really good. And but he's just like staring at you like while you're doing your stuff, you know? And so sometimes that's hard to like not think about. And he was great. It was very like fluid. Like we would cut and he'd just be like, okay, yeah. So it was very conversational between us. But sometimes, you know, it's a lot of hours and you get tired and sometimes you get cranky. And so sometimes when your co-star is like, can you pick up the pace a little bit on this? You want to be like, can you fucking pick up the pace a little bit? Or a thing that James would say to me a lot, actually, and I'm really grateful for this, because it was really challenging and so fucking annoying sometimes, but it was like he was so right. He would call me out if I ever sounded like myself, because I was doing, I guess, I don't know, I sounded differently as Roman. I always heard it in my head from the first time I read the script. It was always just how the character sounded. It had to do with like a sort of weight in my mind, I guess, that he was carrying that I wanted to really exude. He would drive me insane. Like if I ever he'd be like, you sounded a little bit like Dylan on that one. And so sometimes, and it was great. And I'd listen to it. I'd be like, okay, yeah, you know, call me on it. And then, but sometimes I'd be like, well, you know, Dennis sounded a little bit like fucking James on that one, you know? So you get a little petty, but no, for the most part, it was pretty smooth. It was my first time doing that with someone.
How did you go about constructing the two different characters, Rocky and Roman? Did it start with the voice? Did it start with costumes? Did it start, like, where was the origin of each of the characters, given that you had to play both of them in the film?
Yeah, for sure. So, so for Roman, I mean, it can be anything, I guess. That's your first way in, right? So, for me, yeah, Roman, I always really heard him very clearly from the first time I even read the script. So that was like the earliest thing that happened with that. And then I guess in terms of, I've been asked a lot about like physicality and stuff with Roman, and to me it was just such an like emotional weight. Like I just like really like felt this guy, and the grief, you know, was something I really wanted to obviously authentically, you know, ground in something, and also have him play the role that he does to the humor in the film, you know, which I was like so in love with, and also so excited by. You know, I love humor in film. I love comedies. You know, I love the many different ways that humor can show up in a film. You know, and I loved in this one, my sort of role to it was never being in on the joke, right? You know, which was a different type of challenge. But something I was really excited by. Anyway, part of that was the kind of like lumbering physicality and the weight that he was carrying, right? And the sort of, this has been the hardest part to articulate, but this was the scariest part to do with him, was the sort of, I guess, dimness, you know, like that shows up in the script at times. I mean, there's literally a scene at one point where he cannot tell the difference between a lemon and a lime. So the challenge of like making that feel real was scary. I think probably the scariest part. Because
you want to be likable, but you also need to capture the fact that he's not as bright, maybe, as he could be.
For sure, yeah. And to not have it be maybe not about his like intelligence necessarily, but more so about his experience. Because again, it comes back to the themes of the story, right? And the different evolutions that these brothers took away from each other, the reason that they were at this place of disconnects, you know, when he lost him, you know. Um, but yeah, making that feel like real and not, you know, like what? He doesn't know what a lime is. And then yeah, I don't know. In terms of rocky physicality things, choices, that's all fun, and it's super collaborative too. You get on the ground, and we had such an amazing team. So I was surrounded by so many ideas. But it's a small movie. You're kind of just tucked away in Portland. We're all just having these really funny conversations about should I have a mustache, you know? And like it's fun. You're just guessing, and you don't know if anyone's gonna see your movie, you know. So at some point you just go, yeah, fuck it, let's have a mustache, you know.
Did the mustache help ground you? Do you feel like it became?
I think
I mean, no, I meant that seriously. You guys laugh, but did that help you get into?
it helps,
Yeah.
like inflate Rocky for me. It was like the opposite of grounding. It helped me like float, you know, a little bit. Yeah, helped me feel sexy. Yeah, yeah, baby.
What about Roman's? What about Roman's voice? Talk to us a little bit more about that. How did you? It wasn't you, obviously. It's not your voice, but where did that come from? The gravel quality in his voice, and sort of the way he.
It was honestly, I mean, you know what? I had no idea at the time when I first heard it. Um, and then I sort of, years later, I did ultimately identify, I think, who sort of in my life, I had such a strong, like, spirit animal for Roman. I had no idea what it was. There's different elements to it, too, from different areas, the pain that he's in, like, right? But then in terms of, like, the voice, the kind of naivety, right? Like, the shelteredness, there was something in my life that, like, yeah, I ended up identifying, which I will not share, but that was sort of, I think, the inspiration, and where, I guess, why he sounded that way to me when I just first read it.
Talk to us a little bit about the evolution of Roman's relationship with Dennis, because the film does such a brilliant job of sort of portraying what's happening between the two of them and their friendship. And how did you and James talk about the sort of chemistry between the two of them, the friendship, the sort of unrequited love, the one-sided love? Can you talk a little bit about sort of thematically building all of that?
Yeah, you know, it was always so the Roman and Dennis relationship was one of my favorite things about the script too. That's something that we don't see in films. You know, like a friendship at the center of a dark comedy between a straight man and a gay man. And I loved two things. I mean, one, I love how much they teach each other. You know, I think that's sort of the ping pong from the get go. You know, he's immediately sort of, for Roman, right, seeking these answers, you know, that he never got. He had never sort of. He has so much regret of not like getting to engage with this side of his brother. That was such a piece of him, you know. And if anything, obviously, he sort of emphatically was like, no, fuck that, you know. And so it's sort of this beautiful thing. Again, it goes back to this evolution, right? These two brothers grew in such different directions at such different paces, right? And ironically enough, now sort of like with the loss of his brother, Roman then gets to kind of live out this like different evolution and this different experience. The diner scene. I mean, so many scenes for years. A word wasn't changed, and that is so viciously uncommon, especially for me too. I'm really annoying about, like, you know, I mean, I joke, but it's truly uncommon. It's different styles, right? But you're changing it usually a lot, the dialogue, or you're almost never saying it word for word on page. But James's script was so authentic feeling and so beautifully written that we didn't have to, which is it's beyond never the case.
So you didn't have to improvise at all. It was all on the page for the most part.
Oh, barely any. There's like a couple improvised scenes in the movie, but it's like when me and Lauren are like fighting in the kitchen. We did that for like an hour, and then he just like picked like a little slice. But no, the movie is very, very scripted.
I know there's a lot of students in this audience. I know there's a lot of students who are interested in film in this audience. Dylan, I want to ask you about what it was like to go to Sundance in Park City, Utah. You've been before. Pony Boy was there. Some of your other films were there. But what is it like to go and have the opening night film at the Sundance Film Festival? I was wondering if you could just set the stage and talk about sort of what that experience is like for those of us who haven't been to Sundance before.
Has anyone in the room been to Sundance before? Cool. Okay. I don't know, sorry, why I asked that. It like wasn't gonna go anywhere. I didn't have anything beyond that. I mean, Sundance is great. It's obviously like an iconic festival. I mean, having the journey on this movie was really hard, and it was
Hard why?
because people don't want to make movies like this anymore. This movie was passed on by over 100 financiers over the course of 7+ years. I think it was over 100 even just in the time that I came on board. So that was 4 years. But James had been trying to get it made for about 5 years before that. People are afraid of originality. People are afraid of again, going back to the friendship between a gay main character and a straight main character. People are afraid of flawed characters, and like they don't want to take that chance. So even having the film get made at all, and then having it go to the festival, which we were really prepared for it to maybe not be everybody's favorite, and maybe some people really love it and get it. But we were certainly prepared for it to be quite polarizing. And so to get the reception in that theater, we played at Eccles Theater, and to hear the crowd like go on the ride and like literally be gasping and crying and laughing, it just does not get better than that. It's the most gratifying feeling like you can have in this business, and I have been doing it long enough at this point to just know that that feeling does not happen all the time, if ever, and so I'm really lucky we're so lucky to have had it with this, and yeah, I mean, it's did I answer? I can't remember. Did I answer the question?
No, you did. So I just wanted to know, I mean, Sundance was started by Robert Redford, obviously, and it's a celebration of independent film. And so the fact that the way that movies are set up is that you have to have financiers, if it's an independent movie, pay for the movie and support the budget and think that this is a profitable, lucrative investment for them. So the fact that this brilliant script was rejected by so many people really speaks to the fact that we, as a business right now in Hollywood, there isn't a premium on original filmmaking. And so how do you as an actor navigate that?
It's really interesting because listen, I'll say this too. It wasn't all sunshine and roses even after we won the audience award. Sorry, I didn't even include this. We won the audience award at Sundance. Thank you. Which again, sort of at the time we're going, okay, great. We'll sell. I can't wait to field these calls. Bring it on, Neon. Where's A24? And it was a little quiet, and we were like, okay, what's going on? And so even still, after having the audience award, a lot of these conversations with these distributors were, we love the film, we don't know how to sell this, and so it's you're fighting these things, right? Again, you bring up originality and trying to sort of fight for that pendulum, to swing back a little bit, it is tough. And we were having the same conversations all of a sudden, like deja vu with the distributors, after we had completed the movie, after we had shown that an audience can respond to it, after it was voted for the Audience Award at Sundance. I don't know what other leap of faith for commerciality you can display, right? And still everybody was like, I don't know. We don't want to take a swing on this. And that can be disheartening, you know, it really can be. But I think the only thing, how I navigate it, it's, you know, I'm not gonna change the way I'm operating. I've really been thrilled and feel so lucky to have gotten to be a part of the projects that I've gotten to be a part of in the last, you know, 6-7 years, I guess, in my career. I mean, my whole career, really, but in terms of the independent space, you know. And I'm not gonna shift that. I'm still gonna keep fighting the good fight, but it does matter in terms of, you know, attending the theater to see these movies when they are out, you know, as much as you can, you know. I think we're so used to, maybe, even if we want to see something now, and we kind of file things into a space of like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll wait for that to, you know, or like, you know, oh, I want to go see that. And I don't know, I think maybe that latter one is sort of less and less becoming the instinct for us. And if you want these movies to keep being made, you gotta go see them, because it's bleak out there. These conversations that we're having, we're seeing, I saw under the hood, it's smoking, you know. Yeah.
So how important is theatrical for you? You want your movies to play in a theater, because that's also one of the big debates in the industry right now.
Certainly.
Is that, do we only do streaming movies? People aren't going and seeing movies in theaters.
Yeah.
Does that not mean, was that a measure of success? So as an actor, theatrical is important to you, correct?
Certainly, yeah. Well, I mean, do you guys like to go see movies with audiences? Yeah, right? So, yeah, I mean, you know, I do too. And it's a reality that concept is, you know, on its way to extinction if we're not careful, you know, and so particularly for smaller films. So theatrical is certainly important, just to keep having these movies put in those spaces, I think, is vital. And then we got to go see them for sure, you know. It's a bit of a dying concept, I guess. So it's you don't want to make one of these. Again, it's the heavy lifting that it takes to even get it to the start line, right? You then also don't want it to just end up on like someone's laptop, you know, at the end of that. So that's part of the fight too, for sure.
We have time for one last question.
Yeah, okay.
This is a broad question, and I want to end like on a happy note, but I'm not sure if this is a happy question.
Oh,
so
no.
I'll ask this.
Yeah, this has been pretty grim.
We can end. No, we love this movie. Don't you guys love this film? You have an award here.
Yeah. I made a speech.
You made a speech. It's the day after Halloween. Did you dress up for Halloween?
Oh, is this?
Well, no, that wasn't my last question.
Oh, totally improvising.
I was trying to come up with something fun. Okay, last question is, this movie, I think one of the most brilliant things about this movie is that it's really a film that addresses and explores loneliness and what it means to be lonely and how we try to connect with one another. And so I was just wondering how you interpret the film and the ending of the film.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, first, to touch on loneliness, I mean, that was one of the main themes that, really struck me and that I really connected to. I think the more and more James and I get to know each other, the more and more we realize why we were so drawn to this material. You know, I think James and I have very similar experiences in life. They're very different, but very similar. We both had very lonely periods in childhood, and I think if you ever experience that in life, it's certainly, you know, I mean, loneliness is a killer. I mean, you know, literally, and so it's one of the most powerful things in the film. I think it's handled so beautifully by James, and I think that last scene is certainly that last scene was, I think, the biggest point of conversation from the first time I read the script to when we shot it, to the day we shot it. It was one of the only scenes we were continuing to rewrite. James was continuing to rewrite. I was continuing to weigh in on. Because we really wanted to leave the audience with a feeling of obviously not the decision not sort of being made for them, and they could leave and you guys can sort of like have your takes. I think it's been really telling to hear a lot of the responses to the film. I think it's been interesting. I think it explores your own relationship with forgiveness, you know, in a lot of ways. As for me, I've always had a very positive view of the end. I like to look upward for them. Again, also I played Roman, so I can, you know. I think that these are two humans who, you know, came together at a certain point in time and sort of had this relationship that I don't think will be the same moving forward, but I have faith in their ability to construct something different. Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think? Don't just nod. Yeah, I guess we can't get into the specifics. What? Never mind. Cool. This was great. This was great.
Twinless really is one of my favorite movies of the year. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Dylan. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you
Really,
guys.
truly. Thanks.